Okay, Erev Tov, good evening, everyone. Tonight, just from a tech perspective, I just want to share that there is no wires. You can see whoever's in the room, look at my laptop, there's no wires, and we're connected to the screen. What had happened last week was this laptop over here, decided to do a Windows update, a critical Windows update, right minutes before Shiur started. So I didn't have my laptop. So you'll notice in the last Shiur in the video, it's on my phone. But as I was on my phone, I was able to cast my phone onto the monitor on the screen. And then I realized, can I cast my laptop on the monitor? And I saw, yeah, I can. I just searched the word cast and boom, it's up there. So you see, out of something that seemed annoying at the time, that Windows decided to push a update right before my shiur started, you ended up learning something new, that I no longer need an HDMI cable. We're now becoming wireless. Just you try to find the positive. You try to find the positive in when you get a challenge, you hit with a challenge. Now we've cut the blow. No more wires. Baruch Hashem. Okay. Tonight's shiur, we're going to continue speaking a little bit about foul odors, smells when someone wants to pray. We began speaking about it last week. What happens if you're praying and all of a sudden you discover a source of a bad smell? So tonight we're going to talk about that. This very common for babies in diapers. Typically, usually when you're praying somewhere, there isn't a bathroom there. But we're going to speak a little bit about like what happens if all of a sudden there's a really bad smell. This could also happen by someone passing gas. It could happen by, I don't know, you're standing outdoors praying and all of a sudden a whiff of wind comes and blows the fertilizer into your nose. So we're going to talk about foul odors and prayers, Shema Yisrael, all of the things that have to do with Kedusha. And then that transitions into having to go to the bathroom. And you want to pray and you have to go to the bathroom. Very, very, very relevant halachot for anyone who has to go to the bathroom, right? Because you have to pray and then beforehand you have to go. But I could hold it in. How long can you hold it in? Should you pray? What if you're going to miss Kaddish? What if you're going to miss Minyan? These are important questions that hopefully we'll cover tonight. So, Shalom Aleichem to whoever joined the shiur moments before I began, and I didn't get to say hello to you. Mr. Alan Akimian, I saw you came in. Shalom Aleichem. I see iPad 254. Is that Mr. Zerubaveli?
Yes, shalom, Rabbi.
Yes, it is. Very good.
I made it.
Other Mr. Zerubaveli here. Shalom Aleichem. Yes, question?
Is it just something that you can identify as getting a bad smell, or like in the
Yeah. Okay, very good question. That if some people will go to some countries and the whole place will smell, but to someone else, it's like this is home. It's like a good smell, right? Obviously, there is some subjectivity to bad smells, right? If you ask a farmer if the field smells bad, he's going to say, "What are you talking about? This is what it smells like." Okay, so yeah, there is definitely a perspective of a difference between when there's a source and when there's no source. So let's remind ourselves of the Gemara. I'm going to show you the Rambam, and then we're going to continue with our Gemara. Okay, so share screen. We have a lot to cover tonight. Baruch Hashem, Shechianu v'kiyamanu, or that Hashem chose us that we're able to learn Torah. Here we go. Okay, so this is something we saw in the Gemara. I'm just going to give us a running start. It's the bottom of Gemara Berachot of Kaf Bet Amud Bet. Tanya Idach. If you're looking in the art scroll, where's Tanya Idach? It should be 2B4. It's 2B4 on the left side. There's a first break over there. Okay. Haya omed bitfila. Person is praying. Okay, guy started praying. All of a sudden, he's out on the field. He says, it's mincha time. It's about to pass. I see the sun is setting. So you get out of the car. You're driving somewhere, you get out of the car, and you tell your wife and kids or whatever, you say, hold on a second, we need to pray mincha. So you go and you pray mincha. All of a sudden, and all of a sudden during your tefillah, you see, boom, there was a dog there. Or there was a person who went to the bathroom right in the middle of the streets. And you see tzora, you see excrement. Mehalech lefanav, walk forward. In the middle of the Amidah, you can walk. Amidah, you omed, you stand still. But you're not allowed to pray when you have that source of bad smell there. You have to move. So you have to walk forward until the excrement falls behind the guy. Arba amot. There's another braita that says, no, you don't have to walk forward. You could also just distance yourself sideways. So the Gemara says, La kashya, had efshar, had lo efshar. Okay, if you have the option to walk forward so that it's behind you, you should walk forward so that it's behind you. But let's say you don't. For example, let's say you're praying east and you're praying on a riverbank, or you're praying where there's like a balcony or something. You can't go forward. Going forward means you're jumping off the balcony or you're jumping into the river. You can't go forward. In that situation, you just distance yourself to the side. So if you can go forward so that the excrement is behind you, that's what you should do. If not, you go to the side, right? And then the Gemara says, then the Gemara goes a little bit more. Hold on, did we talk about the distance yet? Arba amot? Oh, the Mishnah says Arba amot. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was thinking about where's the So the Mishnah tells us the distance that a person has to go is Arba amot. Who told me last week that if you told me, Gabriel, right? What did you say about the Arba amot thing? You remember? You said if there's no smell, Arba amot is sufficient. But if there's a smell,
then it's gonna distract you.
Then you have to, how far do you have to go? Go until there's no smell. Okay? So I want to show you the Rambam on this. The Rambam is in Hilchot Kiryat Shema. There we go. Hilchot Kiryat Shema. First, I'm going to do halacha. This is Perek Gimel halacha Vav. Let's do halacha Vav. So at ha'adam, if you find human excrement, v'tzoat kalavim, it could even be dog excrement, v'chazirin, or pig excrement. Okay, bizman sheyesh betochan orot, but the dog and the pig excrement is like when there's like skin soaking in it, which means it really makes the smell really bad. Because sometimes you could have animal, you have dogs. Is it possible that it doesn't smell? It's possible that
You'd be standing right over it.
you wouldn't even know, right? So until you step in it, right? So you could have some dog excrement that doesn't smell, but then there are times where it does smell. Maybe if the dog ate something unhealthy or is not feeling good or something, or it could also pass gas, right? So here's a situation where it's like almost telling you, like, if there's things that making it putrid, or here's the rule: if the excrement smells, kigon elu, if it smells bad like this, asur likrot kriyat shema kenegdan. You cannot pray shema there. So if your dog goes and has a bad smell, you cannot pray shema there. Okay? V'chen keneged mei raglaim shel adam. Also, human urine. Okay? Human urine is a problem if it's next to a person. Now, why would it be next to a person? I don't know. Let's say, for example, let's say you're doing a road trip. You're doing a road trip, and you really have to go to the bathroom. There's nowhere to go, so you grab yourself a cup or something. I'm just giving an example. Now you pee there, and now you want to pray. You cannot pray near the human urine. First of all, there's a smell. It's not. There's a halacha in the Torah. It's a pasuk in the Torah that says, "V'haya machanecha kadosh." Your camps should be clean. There's kedusha. You should have cleanliness in your home, especially the times of tefillah. So here we're learning is that if there's excrement or if there's urine, you're not allowed to pray Shema there. Okay, aval mei raglaim shel behema korin kenegdan. But urine of dogs is allowed. Okay, I guess there's not as much smell, whatever. Katan sheinu yachol. Okay, fine. So we'll stop here. Then it talks a little bit about babies. Let me just show you Gabriel's halacha. Gabriel, your halacha is in Hilchot Kriyat Shema, Perek Gimel, halacha Yud Bet. Reach ra. Important law. Sheyesh lo ikar. If there is a foul odor that has a source, that there's some substance that's creating that smell, marchik arba amot, then you need to distance yourself 4 amot from it, v'koreh, and then you reach Shema, im pasak hareach. If that's enough of a distance that makes it stop smelling. Okay? So let's say you're at your home, your dog pooped in the house, you have to pray mincha, and it smells. So if you move 4 amot away and you couldn't pray and there's no more smell, meaning there's no more smell, then you could pray. But if the smell did not stop, if the foul odor is still there, marchik ad makom shepasak hareach. So you got to keep going until the smell stops. Okay? So there's a lot of discussion about babies with diapers. If there's a bad smell, you cannot pray there. If there's a bad smell, as you're seeing here, you cannot pray holding the child. But let's say there's no smell. Let's say you know the baby peed. There's no smell. You'd be allowed. The baby pooped, and there's no smell, which is good for you for getting that having that lot. But if that's what the situation is, then there's some that would say, okay, look, it's covered, there's no smell, you don't actually see it, so then it's fine. But ideally, you're distancing yourself from the human excrement up until four amot and then praying. Okay, you had a question? Someone had a question? I saw a hand. Oh, it was you. Okay.
I understand with excrement or waste,
1 second, David. I'll come to you. Yeah.
but like Andrew was saying, smell is very like subjective.
Yeah.
If it doesn't bother me, I still pray if someone passes.
Yeah. I mean, talk to the guy who has BO, right? Like it bothers everyone else except for him. So is he allowed to pray around himself? The guy doesn't notice. If a person is dirty, a person should pray. A person should clean themselves. Let's say someone stinks that he feels like he stinks. Don't say, let me pray and then I'll shower. No, you clean yourself you should be clean. Now, yes, exactly. Yeah. So this is where you see there's some subjectivity. If there is a source to it, if there's so'ah, then it's a problem. If there is a excrement, then it's a problem. But if there's no excrement, who lives in Avalon? Anyone here live in Avalon? Okay, the people in Avalon, sometimes you go outside, yeah, like you're gonna have to distance. Yeah, you're gonna have to distance more than 4 amot. Where's Rama? Rama, you there? You're gonna have to distance more than 4 amot. And you might have to move to a different building. But whatever. But you ask those people, you talk to them. What do they say? They say, I get used to it. You get used to it. They say, oh, they fixed it. They put some perfume in there and they fixed it. That's what they tell themselves but they don't smell it anymore. So can they? Yeah, they can. They can pray there because it doesn't bother them. But if it really bothers you to the point where you can't, it's disgusting. You can't pray there. Then if it bothers you and you're sensitive, you can't pray there. That's what we're. Yeah, I mean, there has to be some subjectivity with smell that doesn't have a source. But if there's a source, then it's objective. You have to distance yourself 4 amot until there's no bad smell. 4 amot is approximately 6 feet. It's approximately 6 feet. Yes, David Ilmani, Bechava.
Yeah, I was actually having trouble understanding the flow of the Gemara. It starts off introducing a braita about a bal keri, and then it introduces another braita about the excrement.
Yes. Okay, the flow of the Gemara really has to do with the multiple parts of the Mishnah. Let me show you the Mishnah. The Mishnah itself transitions. So if you scroll up to the Mishnah, you can see the Mishnah starts by saying someone is praying, and in the middle of his prayer, he remembers he's a bal keri, which is connected to the previous topic. Then that transitions into, okay, now this bal keri wants to go to the mikveh, yarad litbol, and it's coming time to Shema. Should he say Shema outside of the mikveh or inside the mikveh? So we're still talking about a bal keri that's going to the mikveh. And then we're saying, hold on a second. If you're in the water and you want to say Shema, what if that water smells? Then you cannot say Shema in there because there's a smell. Okay, how far would you have to distance yourself from that water in order to say Shema? It says 4 amot. So you see, we transitioned from a bal keri who's going to the mikveh, then a bal keri who's going to the mikveh and saying Shema in the mikveh, but the mikveh smells. So it's telling us, okay, since it smells, there's a foul odor, you have to distance yourself 4 amot. That gets our Gemara into the topic of, okay, now what happens if you're praying and there's there's excrement there? Similar law. You have to distance yourself because you're not allowed to say Shema or pray within 4 amot of that foul odor. That's the flow. It's really because the Mishnah gives you those cases that really starts with a bal keri, but ends with a guy who's in the mikveh that smells.
So the Tanya Idach means next topic. So
yes, correct.
It had nothing to do with what we just said before.
Correct. It's another braita related to the topic.
Okay. I was just trying to figure out whether we closed the topic before. I guess we did. Okay.
Yeah. Tanya Idach, it's not like, oh, we're asking a question. It's citing a similar braita to the laws of our Mishnah. Okay. Good? Yes.
The only mention moving side to side or forward, backwards, not allowed.
Why would backwards? Yeah, correct. Backwards is not allowed for the obvious reason that you'll be like looking at it. So what should you do in that situation, or if you can't go side to side either? So like there's I guess at some point, if you're not able to distance yourself, you might have to turn your face around. Because going back, yeah, that's actually a very good question. Very good question.
So a bird poops in the balcony, the only way, there's no signs that work.
So it's interesting you ask about bird poop. I think from what I've seen that bird, chicken, these poops aren't you can't smell it. You can't really smell it, and it's not really considered, it's more considered like a liquid form. It's not really excrement. To be honest, I don't like thinking about this stuff or like trying to distinguish different types of excrement. But yeah, if a bird poops, if I'm not a big bird fan, it's just like it's the type of person I am. But whatever. I tried doing a shchita class, and one of the classes they're doing shchita right there. Go look at their knives. And I remember one time I was in that room and they brought a quail, which is a type of bird. And the bird, everyone grab it, take it, pass it around. And it came to my turn and I picked it up and I'm not gonna swear, but the thing looked in my eye. It looked at me in the eye and I said, I'm not doing this. And I passed it, and it was the last time I went to that shchita. It's okay. There's certain things. I have a lot of good things going on in my life. Shchita is not one of them. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I don't have to do everything. I try to do a lot, but it's okay. I could just go to Meat Maybe and Everfresh. These places are fine. Actually, Rabbi Adam tells me, Tilmad lishchot. Rabbi, why? Why should I do shchita? He's like, you never know. I'm like, Rabbi, I'll become a vegetarian if I have to. Like, this is not. I'm not. If it's an apocalyptic situation, then I could eat anything, right? The world is coming to. But anyway, there are some people. There's a whole group that do shchita. Anyone here do shchita? Anyone here do it? Rama, you do shchita? Rama, does it smell outside of Avalon? No, right, exactly. Yeah, that's what exactly. Okay, very good. So we're talking about like praying near places that smell, and you would be allowed to pray by the Avalon. It's possible that the smell is still there, just you got used to it. It's possible. I'm just saying. But maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. Okay, let's keep going. All right, continuing with the Gemara. By the way, I fully called that. I told you. You get to a point where you don't. Okay, now the Gemara continues. If you're praying and you find excrement next to you, the question now is going to be, since you prayed already, what should you do? Amar Rabba, so Rabba says, look, you did something wrong because you should have checked beforehand. How did it happen that you're praying and all of a sudden the excrement popped out of nowhere? It was there the whole time. You should have checked. You didn't, so you did something wrong. But even though you did something wrong, your tefillah is accepted. You fulfilled your mitzvah of tefillah, which means you don't need to pray again. Matkifla Rava says to him, but there's a pasuk that says the zevach of Rishaim, a offering from a Rasha. It's calling him a Rasha because he should have checked. He did something wrong by not checking. The offering of someone who did acted improperly, to'eva, is not accepted. It's abominable. Therefore, Rava changes the opinion and says, since you sinned, even though you prayed, tefilato to'eva, your prayer is an abomination, which means it was not accepted, which means you need to pray again. You did something wrong. You should have prayed again. There's another opinion that Tosfot quotes that says, no, it was an abomination, and tough luck. You don't get another chance, so don't pray again. However, it's viewed, but according to this view, you did something wrong, therefore your tefillah was no good. And quite simply, if it was no good, you would be required to pray again. Okay, now let's talk about a catheter. Anyone ever been on a catheter? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. You don't actually have to say that, but there are certain times that someone, let's say, goes to the hospital and they have some sort of a surgery or something, and they have to lie down in bed. So what do? They'll place a catheter in, which means that the person could urine, and it just goes into like some sort of a pot that's covered, right? And it's very common. Okay. Let's say someone is not there, but let's say someone, for example, loses control. This happens. Let's say someone loses their control in the middle of the tefillah. Person is praying in the middle of his tefillah, all of a sudden he starts peeing. Small amount, he starts peeing. Okay? Tanu Rabbanan. Haya omed b'tefillah, a person is praying in the middle of his tefillah. Umayim shotetin al birkav. And all of a sudden he feels water trickling down his knee, which means the guy's having an accident. Okay? You think about someone elderly, you think about someone who got injured, someone that's a little bit sick. It happens. Posek, so stop praying, until the water stops flowing. Vechozer umitpalel, and then you return to pray. Okay? Tosfot brings the point, hold on. Tosfot brings up the point that says, we said previously that you can't, as you saw in the Rambam, you can't pray if there's actual urine in front of you. So the way Tosfot explains is that we're talking about it like he dried it off. Okay, the guy has some napkins, he paid a little bit, he dried it off like this, he took it, he threw this out. Okay, so there's no, it could be a little bit moist, but it's not so moist. He's like, he basically dried off the urine off him. Now is he allowed to continue praying? So the halacha, the Braita says is yes, even though you pause in the middle of your tefillah to stop, to let the pee come, and then you like dried it off or whatever it is, then you could continue praying. Lehechan choser. But when I say continue praying, where do you start from? Do you start from the beginning or from where you left off? Rav Chasta, Rav Hamnuna. It's a machloket between Rav Chasta and Rav Hamnuna. Chad amar choser larosh. One opinion says you go back to the beginning. V'chad amar lemakom shepasak. The other one says no, you continue from where you left off. Yes, question?
The original opinion sounds like it's saying that like your prayer was bad, like Rabbi was saying before, and it didn't count because you have this urine or whatever, so you have to start from the beginning. Your original prayer wasn't good, so it's not actually saying choser, return, like continue. It's saying start.
Correct. Exactly. The question is, when you say choser, go back, does that mean go back, like turn the pages back in the Siddur? Or choser means go back to the act of praying from where you left off? What does it mean go back? Go back to the act of praying from where you left off? Or go back to the beginning of the prayer? That's really what it means, choser. How do you translate that word? Okay, so we have a machloket. This is different than the previous case. The previous case is you're praying and all of a sudden you see that there was excrement there, which means you should have checked beforehand. It was there the whole time. Here's a situation: the guy's praying, and look, no one pees on himself on purpose. Right? This is an accident. The guy's and all of a sudden it happens. He feels there's water trickling down. So what does it say you should do? It says you should stop until it stops, until it's absorbed, until there's no more moisture. Then you continue. Now continue from where? Do you go back to the beginning, or then you go back? Do you go back to the beginning of the prayer, or from where you left off? It's a machloket. Rav Chista and Rav Hamnuna, one says go back to the beginning of prayer, one says from where you left off. The lema b'hakem palge. What would be the source, the root of their machloket? Where one says just keep going, and the other one says no. What you did was invalid. You got to go back. So what's the source of the machloket? The Gemara first brings a potential machloket from left field that seems unrelated, and the Gemara rejects it. But let's see it. So maybe this is their source of their argument, and we're turning to Chav Gimel Amud Aleph, 23A. Mor Savar, one opinion holds Im Shaha Kedei Ligmor Et Kula Choser LaRosh. The whole discussion the Gemara is suggesting now has to do about another machloket. There's another machloket that says, let's say in the middle of Shema or in the middle of Tefillah, you take a break. Okay? But let's say you took such a long break that the break is like the amount of time of the entire prayer. So how long does your Amidah take? Let's say you say 5 minutes. So let's say you took over a 5-minute break in the middle of the prayer. That's a situation. Or someone is saying Shema. How long does it take you to say Shema? Let's say 2 minutes. So let's say you took a 2-minute break in the middle of the Shema for whatever reason. So we have a machloket in that situation. So that's called Shaha. You delayed, you paused, Kedei Ligmor Et Kula, for the amount of time that it takes to say the entire thing. Okay? Let's say there was a situation where that happened. There's a machloket. Choser LaRosh, Umor Savar Lemakom Shepasak. So in that situation, there's a machloket of now that you're going to resume. Let's think of an example. Think of an example is you're saying the Shema Yisrael. All of a sudden, in the middle of Shema Yisrael, you feel like you have to sneeze, and the sneeze catches you, and it's like and like you're like waiting for it to come out. Or let's say you're blowing your nose, something, and you take a pause in the middle of the Shema, and you take a 3-minute pause, which is more than the amount of time it takes to say the entire Shema. So in that situation, there's a machloket. When you resume, do you resume from where you left off? Or do we say you took such a long pause that you have to go back to the beginning? So that situation, Shaha Kedei Ligmor Et Kula, that you pause for the amount of time that it takes to say the whole thing, machloket of whether you continue from where you left off or where you go from the beginning. The Gemara now is saying, oh, that's what the machloket about the case of the urine is, where it says how the guy urine and then he stopped to like wipe it off, and then he continues. One says go back to the beginning, one says you pick up from where you left off. They're saying, oh, I'll tell you what happened in this situation. He paused for 5 minutes, so it's just that same machloket. Is that right? Right? Amar Rav Asher says if that was the case, ha im shaha Im lo shaha mi bayale. Then it should have said, if you pause this amount, then you have this machloket. But if you didn't pause this amount, you don't have this machloket. The Gemara didn't say that. The Gemara said the guy's praying, all of a sudden he feels urine, so stop until it's finished, and then you continue. It doesn't say depends on how long you stopped. It doesn't differentiate. So why are you saying that? Ella, therefore, the kule alma, everyone agrees im shaha kedei gmoret kula. Everyone agrees that if you waited so long that you could finish, that you took a significant amount of break that you could have recited the whole Amidah in that time, gozer la rosh. That's enough of a break that you have to go back to the beginning. Everyone agrees to that. This case of the guy urinating in the middle of tefillah by accident is not that he took that long of a break. It's that he took a very short break. The guy, it's just a little drop. Then he takes a thing, he quickly wipes his leg, takes him 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Even if that's the case, the more savar gavra dechuyahu ve'en ra'oi, one opinion feels that when, like back to Andrew's point, you should, if you're in a situation that you can't hold it in, you should never have even prayed. And if you prayed, then that prayer wasn't acceptable. Ve'en tefilatot tefillah, and his tefillah is not accepted. Umar savar gavra chazyahu tefilatot tefillah. The other one says no. What he said was valid. Basically, the way is like this: if a guy is praying, the guy is praying in the middle, and in the middle of his prayer, he has to go so badly that he ends up urinating. What does that tell you about how badly he had to go? For his first half of the Amidah, he really had to go to the bathroom. So the question is, if someone really has to go to the bathroom, but they pray anyway, is that prayer valid? That's the machloket, where one opinion says that if you were able to get the words out, then it's valid. That's why whenever you're done urinating, you just pick up and you continue from where you left off. But the other opinion you're saying is like, if you had to go that badly, then your tefillah wasn't valid. Even if you got through, you could even say, even if you got through the whole thing and you didn't urinate, but if you had to go that badly, then ein ra'ui, you were not in a state that you should have prayed. And since you prayed in a state that you shouldn't have prayed, your prayer wasn't valid. So this transitions us into the law that you cannot pray if you have to go to the bathroom, right? And that's going to transition us into there. So you get it? We had this machloket. Machloket was, let's just take a break and talk this through. We had a machloket about the following situation. A guy is praying. By the way, nowadays, like, if someone wants to go to the bathroom, they go inside, they go somewhere. It's like, what kind of the guy is praying, then all of a sudden he pees and he just wipes it off and keeps going. But I'll give you an idea. Let's say it's like summertime. Okay, I'm not saying people go in the pool. I'm not saying people do that. I think you could test whether these things are going. But let's say it's summertime. Someone's there. There's a bathroom there. Let's say he gets a little bit on himself. It doesn't bother him so much because he's going to be showering in a second anyway. He's a little bit dirty. He's a little bit sweaty. You know what I mean? Like, so this person in that situation. Okay, I'm just trying to like make this a little bit more relevant. Okay. The guy is in the middle of praying and he's in his bathing suit, which he probably shouldn't be praying in that. But then the guy is doing it. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I got a little bit wet. But he was wet anyway, and he's going to be showering soon anyway. So he doesn't care that much. It doesn't bother him that much. He just takes a towel. He has a towel with him, his beach towel. He just wipes himself off. Is he allowed to continue? Okay. So one opinion says, continue from where you left off. The other one says, no, you have to go back to the beginning. We said, you know why we have this opinion? Because it's a machloket about whether when you take a break that's so long, whether you could continue, you have to go back to the beginning. The Gemara says, no one said that. No one said that he took a 5-minute break. The thing was that he started urinating. That was the reason. It's not because he took a 5-minute break. Don't mix up two things. The case of waiting 5 minutes is one discussion. This is a discussion even if it took him 10 seconds. The fact that he had to urinate during his tefillah means that he couldn't hold it in, which means the first half of his prayer wasn't even valid. That's why he has to go back to the beginning. Another one says, no, it's fine. He got the words out, it's valid. That's why he could just do it going forward. Okay, I have a comment here. For example, you climb to the top of the Masada and want to pray at sunrise, and you don't have a bathroom nearby. Okay, I think Andy is talking about a situation where you chose to do this, right? Or like you're saying, like, I don't know what happens if you're like a sports player and like it's like there's no timeouts and you really have to go. I don't know what they do. Like, what do they do? What does an NFL player do if he has to go? Fake an injury.
All the time. Oh, it has to happen.
What? They just
Like God, like ran.
oh they just go
Come back like 3
Yeah,
minutes.
it's fine.
yeah.
Run out.
Okay, yeah.
Be the same situation with the person that they're already making a station mob on the call, like you don't have a choice.
Oh. Yeah, it's like your timing. You don't have that much of a time. That's why this guy really had to go to the bathroom. He really had to go to the bathroom, but he had only 1 minute left. So he's like, I'm just squeeze it in. And then when he squeezes it in, he ends up going. That's like a possibility of why it would happen also. Okay, good. This transitions us into a very important halacha, I think. I think we're up to it. Yes. Okay, are you guys ready? This is important. Has anyone gone to the bathroom before? Okay, has anyone prayed before? Okay, very good. If anyone said yes to both of those questions, the following Braita and Gemara is extremely relevant for you. Let's see it. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita, Hanitzrach lenikavav, you got to go to the bathroom. Someone needs to go. Number one, number two, whatever it is. For now, let's just say either. Alit palel, don't pray. If you have to go, don't pray. Ve'imit palel, and if you did choose to pray anyway, tefilato to'eva, your prayer is abominable, meaning it's not accepted. It wasn't proper. If you have to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. It's not a time for a tefillah. That's what the Braita says. Okay, now I'm going to say this very clearly because in a second the Gemara is going to give us another version of it. Braita says this statement. Braita says, if you need to go to the bathroom, don't pray. And if you do, it's not accepted. Okay, so don't pray. That's the Braita. Amar Rav Zavid. Rav Zavid is an Amora, is a rabbi, and he's going to qualify the statement of the Braita. Ve'item Rav Huna, or Rav Yudah, some say it's Rav Yudah. Lo shanu ela she'eno yachol lishhot be'atzmo. Rav Zavid says, okay, hold on a second. Hold your horses. The Braita says, like this strong statement, it's not that severe. What does the Braita say? If you have to go to the bathroom, don't pray. And if you did, it's not accepted. Rav Zavid tempers it a little bit. He says, okay, we're talking about someone who's like really needs to go, that cannot hold himself in. But if you could hold it in, so the prayer is fine. Now, there's a machloket on this about prayer is fine, meaning you don't need, like, your prayer was accepted, or tefillah means umutar, you're allowed to do this. I'm going to show you what Shulchan Aruch says shortly. But this is what the qualification on the statement. So the Braita says, if you need to go to the bathroom, don't pray. And if you do, it doesn't count. Rav Zavid and Amora comes afterwards and says, that's only if like you really had to go that you can't hold it in. But if you could hold it in, it's fine. Okay? The ad kama, hold it in for how long? Can you hold it in? Well, I can hold it in, but how long can I hold it in? If I told you holding it in for 1 minute, that's one thing. What if I say holding it in for a half hour? Something else. What if I told you holding it in for an hour? It's something else. What if I told you holding it in for 2 hours? It's something else, right? So what does it mean holding it in? Ad kama, how much holding it in? Amar Rav Sheshat, are you ready for this? Ad parsa. Until the amount of time it takes to walk a parsa. How much is that? Approximately 4 miles, which halachically, the shortest opinion is 72 minutes. Wow, that's a lot. Hold on a second. Let's just take a step back here. So what this halacha is telling us is that if you can't hold it in for more than 72 minutes, you shouldn't be praying. Okay? Now, someone asked me, I was saying this before, someone asked me, like, how do you know how long? Okay, obviously, like, I don't get, like your battery tells you how much percentage you have left or how many more miles you can go. If you have like a thing car, it can tell you how many miles you get. It can tell me how many more minutes I could go until I have to empty my tank. No, it doesn't. I don't have that. But the question is based on your estimate. Like the way I would think of that is like this. Let's say you're driving and until the next gas stop is going to be an hour, 72 minutes. You see from the GPS. It's either you stop now or you're stopping in 72 minutes. Are you going to stop now? Or do you feel like, no, I could do it? Sometimes I'm driving somewhere, we do a family road trip, and I feel like 2 hours, I'm not getting up. Put my foot on the gas, everyone hold it in, we're going. 2 hours, I could do it. Okay, so if you're in that state, you go to the bathroom. Or more practically, if you just went to the bathroom right now, you just went to the bathroom the second you come out, chances are you don't need to go in the next minute, unless it's like, oh, Yeah, okay, even so, there you're saying is he doesn't even have to go, right? He just went to the bathroom, he doesn't even have to go. Here we're talking about someone who has to go, but it's not that bad that he knows he could hold it in for a little bit over an hour. Right, very good, very good. So we're gonna see the halacha, but there's one more version of the Gemara that I want us to see first, okay? So very good. The first thing was we had a braita that said, don't pray if you have to go to the bathroom. Rav Zvit says, but if you could hold it in for a parsa, then it's fine. Now we're going to take that statement and actually put it, according to another opinion, it's actually part of the braita. And how does it go? It goes as follows. Some say that qualification statement was actually part of the braita. The braita says, don't pray if you have to go to the bathroom. But what are we talking about? The braita is still talking. If you can't hold it in. But if you could hold it in, then his prayer is accepted. And how much? Now Rav Zvid comes, Amar Rav Zvid, at parsa. He tells us how much that threshold is. But the fact that there is a threshold, there's a qualification as part of the braita. It doesn't really make a difference. It's just a matter of how you learn the braita. And now one more line, and then we'll see halacha. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar Rabbi Yonatan. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, in the name of Rabbi Yonatan, says, "Hanitzrach lenikavav." If someone needs to go to the bathroom, hareze lo yitpalel. Do not pray. Shneimar, mishum shneimar, as the pasuk says, Hikon likrat Elohecha Israel. Hikon is from the lashon of prepare. Prepare yourselves. Like Chanta, to prepare. Hikon, prepare yourself. Likrat Elohecha Yisrael, to call out to your God Israel. Before you go to the bathroom, you need to prepare yourself. You need to prepare yourself physically, and you need to prepare yourself mentally. You could imagine how it's connected. What you tell me? So let's think of some theories. Why is it that if you have to go to the bathroom, you shouldn't pray? Very simple. Simple. Andrew, say it again. Your focus is not going to be on your prayer. Your focus is going to be on trying to hold it in. Like, your focus is going to be trying to hold in their smells so your neighbors don't smell you. Someone really has to go to the bathroom. It could be that he's going to be passing gas. His focus is going to be on, I can't bend right now. Because if I bend right now, they're all going to hear. These are where you're not going to be able to have kavanah. You're thinking about going to the bathroom, right? Another perspective is that your body, as I mentioned before, your body, everything should be clean. You should go into the tefillah process with some preparations, and some preparations mean beforehand you should get ready for that state. That means clean yourself, go to the bathroom, wash your hands if you have to. If you have thoughts in your mind, try to clear your thoughts. Very often, especially for mincha, what happens? Someone's in the office and then they step out, and then 4 minutes later they go and they continue working. Okay. Look, this is life. Mincha is a difficult tefillah. Actually, the Gemara Berachot earlier told us that mincha is the highest level prayer because you have to interrupt your flow in order to do it, and it shows your dedication to Hashem. Okay, but if you're going to go pray, we're learning from here that there should be some preparatory steps. You shouldn't just go straight into the Amidah. You should take a second, go to the bathroom, wash your hands, take a moment to meditate, take a moment to think what I'm about to do. I'm about to say, I have the zechut to have a relationship with God, to talk to God. What is it that you're doing through tefillah? You're self-reflecting. You're thinking about introspecting. These things can't really happen if you don't take some steps to prepare for it. It's like playing a game without warming up. Yeah, when you're a little kid, warm-ups don't matter. You just go play. But when you're a professional, warm-ups are everything. Because if you don't warm up, you're going to be tight. You're going to get injured. You're not going to be able to go at the pace that you need to go. So, the same thing. If someone is singing, me, I'm a chazan, I go up there, I just go, whatever. But if you have a professional chazan, they have to prepare themselves. They have to do their lips exercises. They have to do their scales exercises. The singers, they're like that. Anyone here a singer? We need to add some more cultured people. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, these things you're about to perform, you prepare before you perform. You mentally prepare, you physically prepare. So, question for you, what do you think? You have to go to minyan. Minyan starts at a certain time, and you need to go to the bathroom. And now you have a choice. either you pray with the minyan and then go to the bathroom afterwards, or you go to the bathroom but you miss minyan. What do you think you should do? Thought question. What do you think you should do? Does the minyan need you? Okay, very good. Are you the 10th man? Right? Otherwise, they're all going to be waiting for you. Okay, that's a very interesting question. Why would it make a difference?
For me, I don't think you praying there much more important.
Okay, I actually have a good story for this. So you're saying miss the minyan. Miss the minyan, go to the bathroom, right? If you have to go to the bathroom, and if it means you're going to miss minyan. This is what we're learning. If you have sarich nikavav, someone who needs to go to the bathroom, alit palel, don't pray. What else? Any other thoughts?
How bad?
Depends on how bad it is. That's really what the answer is. Someone from the Zoom wanted to say something?
Just want to say, if you think you can hold it in, then you should go.
If you think you could hold it in for 72 minutes. Now, what happens if you miscalculate and then 20 minutes later you're like, no, I can't wait? Okay. But at least in that moment, that's the calculation that you're making. I want to tell you guys a story. This past Sunday morning is Rosh Chodesh, and there was a minyan. And I was Chazan. They wanted me to be Chazan to be fast. So I did Chazan. Okay. And then it gets to Hallel and I do Hallel. And I said, okay, I have to go to the bathroom. It wasn't that bad, but I had to go to the bathroom. So I'm like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm like, no, Rabbi, we need you to do Brit Shemeh. Oh, we need you to roll the Torah. Okay. So I roll the Torah. I do Brit Shemeh. I'm like, okay, I have to go to the bathroom. Like, no, Rabbi, we need you to read the Torah. Like, okay, fine. I'll read the Torah, but I have to go to the bathroom. So I read the Torah. After I read the Torah, I want to go like, no, Rabbi, we need you to do Ashrei. You have to finish fast. Like, someone else do Ashrei. Like, no, Rabbi, we need you to do Ashrei. Okay, fine, I'll do Ashrei. I did Ashrei, and then like, okay, now I'm gonna go like, Rabbi, we need you to do Musaf. What about John? Now after Musaf, I'm like, okay, someone say Aleinu Neshabeach. During the Kaddish, I'm like, I'm going. You can say Aleinu Neshabeach on your own. Someone said Aleinu Neshabeach, okay? But yeah, in that situation, I really wanted to go. Now, I could have held it in. If it was so bad that I could have held it in, I learned this Gemara. I was learning this Gemara the Shabbat the day before. I'm like, Peshoni. This is what Hashem is like saying. You're learning this. You want a good challenge. But they needed me. And like it would have I tried. I promise you I tried to go. I tried to go. So yeah, so I like what you're saying, Richard. You're saying like, look, you also have to make some judgment call. You have an entire minyan. People have Kaddish. You're going to say like, no, sorry, I'm taking my newspaper. I'll see you in 15, 20 minutes. Like, and then you start reading. It's like, look, consider that there are some other people that need you. If you could hold it in. But to Yosef's point, if you can't, or as John's point, if you can't hold it in, you could tell them, you could say like, look, I cannot pray right now. You want me to answer Kaddish? I'll answer your Kaddish, but then I'm not allowed to pray. Kaddish, I'm allowed to answer. Say the starting Kaddish, I'm going to the bathroom. Hopefully, I'll come out by the time you guys start Nagishak, something like that. And you yourself, you don't pray, but at least you help them. But it's a very important consideration. Yes, question.
So I guess like in a different circumstance where you can hold it in, but like you saw the sensation, is it better to not be a chazan?
Okay, very good. So you're asking a question of what happens. Okay, so first you have the chazan question. Like, is there something unique and special about a chazan? Which is a very important question. And then the other question is like, what if I can hold it in? Is it better for me to go? Like, let's say I'm going towards the room and it's like, I can, if you force me to go, I can go. But I don't actually have to. Is it better to try to go? Let's see what Shulchan Aruch says. And it all has to do with the reading of our Gemara. Because what does our Gemara say? Our Gemara says, don't pray. If you have to go to the bathroom, don't pray. And if you did, your tefillah is not accepted. When are we talking about? We're talking about if you can't hold it in. But if you could hold it in, the Gemara says the words. What does it say? Someone tell me. Again, if you could hold it in, then sorry if I spoke too quickly. I'll say it again. What the Braita says is that don't pray if you have to go to the bathroom. But if you have to go, and if you did pray, it's tefilatot to'eva, it's abominable. And then Rav Zvid explains that's only if you can't hold it in. But if you could hold it in, tefilatot tefilah, his prayer is valid. What does that mean, Cody? If I say your prayer is valid, does that mean go ahead and do it? Or does it mean if you already did it, it's fine? bediavad, but it's not the ideal. So you have a machloket here. There's different opinions here, and there's some. Actually, I believe the Rif has a text that says im yachol lishhot be'atzmo mutar. I'm pretty sure. Let me see if there. Someone help me see if there's a footnote here. I think I saw that. Versa. Okay. Where? Footnote 9. Okay, yeah, it is footnote 9. Very good. Thank you, Andrew. Okay, so tefillah, his prayers were valid, and he does not need to repeat the prayer. Footnote 9. The text of Rif reads mutar, permitted. Instead of his prayer is valid, it says it's permitted. According to this version, the Gemara means that if he can restrain himself, he is allowed to begin praying in the first place. It seems that Rashi also understood the Gemara in this manner. See, however, the next note, and then the next note. If you look at the next footnote, they're going to bring another opinion. The footnote 10, look at the second paragraph. The law is that if one is able to restrain himself for this length of time, 72 minutes, when he began praying, he is not required to repeat the Shemona Esrei. However, one should not begin praying in such a state. The Gemara refers to one who went ahead and prayed, although he was forbidden to do so. Indeed, one who feels even a slight urge must relieve himself before praying. This is the opinion of the Rabbeinu Yonah. According to Rif and Rashi, however, if one can restrain himself for the length of time it takes to walk a parsah, he may even begin to pray. So you have a machloket. So we don't see a distinction here for a chazan or not, but what we see here is a machloket between Rif and Rashi on one side and Rabbeinu Yonah on the other side about, let's say you can, like Josh said, you have a sensation, but you could hold, you could hold it in. If you know you could, like I said, like you're driving and you know that it's going to be another hour and 15 minutes before your next pit stop, and you say, it's okay, I could do it, you could do it, then that person, according to the Rif, you would be allowed to pray. But according to Rabbeinu Yonah, no, you shouldn't even pray. I want to show you what halacha says according to Shulchan Aruch, a very important halacha. Yes, question. You want to ask after, or you want to ask before? Up to you. Okay, here we go. Okay, very important halacha. Wow, we have a nice Zoom crowd tonight. Okay, here we go. Siman Sadi Bet. Ve'atzav lemineu. Sadi Bet. Hanitzrach lenekavav. Someone needs to go to the bathroom. Here we go. Hayat sarich lenekavav. You need to go to the bathroom. Someone needs to go to the bathroom. Al yitpalel. Don't pray. This is Shulchan Aruch. Don't pray. Ve'im yitpalel. And if you did pray, tefilato toeva. His prayer is not accepted. V'sarich lachzor ulitpalel. You need to pray again. Let's say you got pressured, you got peer pressured into praying. You didn't want to. And then like what Richard's saying is like, they need you for a minyan. No. You're like, I need to go. They're like, no, come on. And they push you to do it. In my Musaf case, they peer pressured me into praying Musaf. Okay. But then afterwards, like, I really had to go. Sarich lachzor ulitpalel. Okay. I'm not saying that you actually have to in the Musaf case. There's some discussions about whatever. Put that aside. You have to repeat it. You did something wrong. You had to go. You said it. You have to repeat it. V'hani mili. That's the only in the case she'eno yachol lahamid atzmo shiur hiluch parsa. That's only if you can't hold it in for the amount of time it takes to walk a parsa, which is 72 minutes. Ava, however, im yachol lahamid atzmo shiur parsa. If you can wait for 72 minutes, yatsa, you fulfill your obligation bediavad. After the fact, if you already did the prayer. But before the fact, lo yitpalel, do not pray, ad sheyivdok atzmo techila yafeh, until he checks himself well. What does that mean? That means he tried. That means you checked yourself, you know that you don't have to go. Okay? Yeah. All right. Very good. What happens if you're in the middle of your prayer? We could just say this. Let's say in the middle of your prayer, all of a sudden it happens. Try to finish. Sorry, what did I say? He should maintain himself in prayer until he is finished and not interrupt. Once you're in there, try to just finish. Because you're getting yourself in this is what he's saying. If in the middle of the prayer he feels an urge to relieve himself, he should maintain himself in prayer until he is finished and not interrupt. And if at the time of the Shema and the blessings he feels an urge, regardless of whether it's for number one or number two, you should just try to do it. But the Haggah here says, but not if it's like really bad. Okay, fine, very good. Okay, look. Yeah, it's talking about Amidah specifically. So there's a lot to discuss here. There's also there's a lot of halachot. I don't want to go through all of it, but there's a lot of halachot about passing gas during tefillah. You know, this passing gas is beautiful because it's it's beautiful in the sense that it's like a cross of both of our Gemarot. Our first Gemara had to do with the foul odors. You're not allowed to pray around the foul odor. The second Gemara has to do with having to go to the bathroom. So naturally, if someone is passing gas, you really could be doing two things wrong. Number one, there's a foul odor, and you could be praying with the foul odor. Two, it could be an indication that you really need to go to the bathroom. So, you know, if someone before going into prayer has a stomach ache, don't pray. Don't pray. Now, so you might say, like, so what should I do? I have sometimes, like, let's say someone is very sick and he's having some diarrhea attacks, something like that. Then it should be a situation where, like, you come out of the bathroom, you clean yourself. After you're clean, go straight to the Amidah. That's the type of time where we don't say the extra. You know, there's a lot of things that we say in a situation like that. I'm talking about if someone has like a real bad stomach ache, go straight, Shema Amidah, something like that, or Shema Berachot Kriyat Shema Amidah. Maybe that's the day that you don't say all of the korbanot, or don't say all of the, skip some of the Baruch Shema. Like, obviously this is not ideal. I'm not talking about an ideal situation, but we're talking about a situation of, like, we're telling you you're not allowed to pray. If you have to go to the bathroom, you're not allowed to pray. So what do you do in that situation? You go to the bathroom and then cut to the chase with your tefillah, because if you're in a situation where you have to go every half hour, if someone is having like an attack of some sort, you have to try to get your tefillah in. But if, let's say, someone really, really has a terrible stomach ache and they just can't, this is the halacha, don't pray. Don't pray. Yes?
Those other things that you named, like Baruch Shema, those aren't tefillah.
It's not tefillah.
But this is talking specifically for just Shema and tefillah.
Correct. This is talking.
Like, someone can say all those things and have to go to the bathroom.
Correct. Yeah, it's a good point. These restrictions, actually, it's not 100%. Actually, I take that back. I remember seeing the Rambam. Let's see if I can find it. The Rambam explicitly states that everything we're saying that it applies by Shema actually applies to all davar shebikdusha. 1 second.
Okay.
Where is it? Why do you know that?
This applied when Torah as well, or just
Yeah. Okay, very good. So let me show this to Josh. Josh, he asked a great question. Look at the Rambam, and I remember seeing this in Shulchan Aruch as well. So the Rambam in Hilchot Kriyat Shema, here it's talking about, like, this is the discussion about when there's like excrement and it smells, right? So here it says v'lo b'kriyat Shema bilvad. It's not only by Shema, ela kol inyan shehu midivrei hakodesh, anything that is devarim shebektusha, matters of sanctity, asur la'omro. You cannot say it v'vet ha'merchatz, not in a bathroom, v'vet ha'kiseh, and not in a place where you have excrement, v'afilu amaro b'lashon chol, even if you're saying it in English. V'lo la'amro bilvad, ela afilu leharher belibo b'divrei Torah v'vet ha'kiseh, v'vet ha'merchatz, even thinking about Torah thoughts in a bathroom which has the excrement there shouldn't be done. If there's excrement, that's if there's actual bathroom. The thing is, there's different types of bathrooms. There's bathrooms where the excrement is there, think like a porta potty, and then there's bathrooms where the excrement is not there. Really, think of like all of our bathrooms. And there is a possibility that the halacha of our bathrooms is different than the bet hakiseh of the Talmud. Because when the Gemara talks about a bet hakiseh, about which we really didn't discuss in our Gemara, but it's related. A bet hakiseh is a place where there is excrement. The bathroom is a place where there's excrement. Our bathrooms usually don't have excrement. If they're clean, they get flushed, everything goes away. So there's some discussion about whether a person would be allowed to pray in a bathroom or not. And obviously, we don't do it. Obviously, we don't do it, but there's some discussion. There's some discussion about it, and there may be times where it's allowed.
This is different than the case of having to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. So the discussion about having to go to the bathroom. Let's find the Rambam. You know what? Let's find the Rambam on it because I want to see what he says. Where the Hanitzrach Lenikavav? Someone help me find the Rambam. So it's Dalid. Well, this is a tricky one. Tefillah. Dalid Yud. You guys find it or no? So okay, the way what I did was, you know what? Let me just show you. So I want to see the actual daf. So if you go to olddaf.com, you can see the page of the daf. So I'm going to go to the Gemara Berachot here. So what I'm doing here is take a look. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Oh yeah. Can you see it? What'd you say? Oh yeah. Say it again. Ein mishpat ner mitzvah. Very good. So if you look here, Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita, Hanitzrach lenekavav al yitpalel. If someone needs to go to the bathroom, don't pray. Right over here, you see when this law is introduced, there's like a little mini citation, a footnote there. That's bet. That takes you to what Mr. Adalati said, the ein mishpat ner mitzvah. So I try to find the bet. I go to bet here. Bet tells me if you go look at Maimon, Hilchot Maimoniyot, Hilchot Maimon, this is the Rambam, Maimonides. You look Sham means Ibid. Look at the last source that he quoted. Then, whenever you go to that book, it's Halacha Yud. So Halacha number 10. So we have to see in the previous footnote where he sent us into the Rambam, that same book and chapter, we're going to look at Halacha Yud. So where did he go? I go up one. So Maimon, Rambam, Perek Dalid, Hilchot Tefillah. So I need to go to the laws of Tefillah, Hilchot Tefillah. Pe Dalid means Perek Dalid, chapter 4. And from here, I know I need to go Halacha Yud, Halacha 10. So that's Tefillah 4:10. So let's go to it. I believe I have it open. Here's Halacha, Tefillah 4:10. This is 8. Okay. He tells us that there are certain things that if they distract you, it's a problem. Devarim hachovzim oto ketzat. So what is that referring to? Things that bother and distract him. Okay? If a person needs to go to the bathroom, lo yitpalel, don't pray. If someone needed to go to the bathroom and prayed anyway, tefilato to'eva, his tefillah is not accepted. What does that mean? You have to go back and do it again. When you say tefilato to'eva, it's abominable, which means it didn't count, and you need to go pray again. So what do you gain by praying? So you really have to go to the bathroom? You say, let me pray. You pray, then after you pray, they say, by the way, go to the bathroom and then pray again. So what was the point of doing that? So don't pray, just go to the bathroom. You see why you would the halacha here is built to encourage you to go to the bathroom. But if why did that happen? I tried to 4:10. Don't be so fancy. Just read. Okay, and if you could hold yourself in for the amount of time it takes to walk a parsa, his tefillah is accepted. But even though that's the case, that it's accepted, ideally, do not pray in that situation until he checks himself very well. And he checks his intestines. V'yasir kicho. V'yasir kicho means he rids himself of phlegm. V'ni'o, mucus. What does this mean? Blow your nose. Spit out any phlegm that you have. V'chol hadavar hatordo. Anything that can bother you. So you see, the Rambam is a little bit here expanding this. Not just having to go to the bathroom, but anything that you're going to have to interrupt yourself with. If you know you're gonna have to blow your nose and you're going, so before you start praying, clear your nose out. Instead of waiting in the middle of the Amidah, then grabbing yourself for a tissue, then blowing your nose. Look, things happen in the middle. It happens. But if you know beforehand, take care of things beforehand. This is what we're saying. Prepare before you go speak to God. This is just for fun. Someone who burps. I just burped. No, I'm kidding. Ufihek, or yawns. Venit atesh, or sneezes. Bitfilato, during his prayer. If you're doing this voluntarily, it's disgusting. Like, there are times where there's two types of sneezes. I guess sneeze, whatever. Sometimes it's uncontrollable. There's two types of yawns. There's one that's like respectable, and there's one that's not respectable. You want to see like that's a respectable one. I had to yawn, I yawned. But then there's like, oh, like, what do you think you are right now? Like, what do you, like, this isn't, you're not like watching a movie and like private and so on. Like, you're in the middle of tefillah. So this is what he's saying. If you're doing it in a voluntarily way, it's not proper. But if you checked, you blew your nose, you took care of yourself before you prayed, and it happened, the guy burped. Sometimes you can't control it, right? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Look, if you took care of yourself before and it happened by accident, it happened by accident. There's a difference between someone who goes like that and someone who goes, right? Like that's an example. People can embellish. It's not a time for embellishing. If it happens, it happens. And say the guy has to spit during the prayer. Okay, let's say someone's getting a lot of phlegm and it has to come out. This is great. You should absorb it in your talit. Okay, I mean, obviously, their sense of hygiene was very different than what we have nowadays. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can say, imagine you put in your handkerchief or something, or in a tissue, and if you can't handle it, you see, even back then there were Vosvos people. Zorko biado la'acharav. He may throw it behind him with his hand. Okay, fine. If a smell comes out of him from below, the guy had to pass some gas. And when he's praying, and it happened by accident. He passed some gas, but it wasn't intentional. Then wait until the smell is gone. Then you can continue praying. Again, you see the Rambam is very reasonable. Rambam is saying, like, look, these things happen. A guy passes some gas in the middle of tefillah, it's fine. Just pause until there's no smell and then continue. But beforehand, it's not a time of doing it voluntarily. The guy like really wants to get it out. Some people can pass gas on demand. Not in the middle of your tefillah. In the middle of tefillah is not the time for that. Do that before. Prepare yourself to come to pray to Hashem. Okay. It's a fun shiur. Okay, now you want to keep going? Let's just do it just for fun. Okay? Let's say the guy wants to pass gas from below. Like he wants to get it out. Oh, okay. It's a sign from Hashem. It's a sign from Hashem that I should stop here. I'm gonna stop here. Okay. Any questions? We're about to talk about the guy who like wants to pass gas.
Sneeze and cover your mouth. What should you do now?
Okay. Excellent question. So the question is, the guy is sneezing. The guy is in the middle of praying, and then all of a sudden he had an involuntary sneeze. And when he sneezes, he gets himself dirty, right? So what should he do? So ideally, if you have like some sort of a tissue or something. But the Rambam is telling us, look, you also have to keep in mind people around you. What the Rambam is saying is like, if the fact that this thing is in your hand is causing you is preventing you from thinking it through. So he says, so throw it. Just you can't throw it. You're gonna get your time. Shivigan.
Sure.
So what I would do in a situation like that, if that happens, is I would hold my hand closed, and just like hold it closed and do my best to just keep going. What are you supposed to do? Maybe you could. So at this point, we're not talking about walking. The only situation it's a very good question about, am I allowed to go wash my hands in this situation? It's a very good question. I would like to research it more. So the question is, if by moving I would be able to focus my tefillah more. It's a very interesting question. Let's say by moving I'll be able to focus in my prayers more. Am I allowed to move? So far, we saw an example of when you're allowed to move. What was the example we saw in our Gemara? It's not just, yeah, exactly. If there's an excrement, and we said, walk forward in the middle of your Amidah, which is it's a big deal. So maybe you would say the same thing. It's actually it's a very good question. I don't know.
And you have to also make sure it's not longer than
Right. Okay, but it's a very good question. Let's say I'm over here, and I see there's a tissue box right over there. I'm praying, I see a tissue box. It would make everything better. It would make everything better if I could just go get the tissue, wipe my hand, and then keep going. Like, am I allowed to? I don't know the answer. I have to do some research. What do you think? Rama, you could do some experimenting for us later? It's a meta. What should I do? Oh. Yeah. Okay, it's another good question. I think part of it is also it's bothering other people. There's like I remember seeing this. Let's say you're in the middle of your tefillah and you're holding your baby because you're a good dad. And while you're holding your good baby, your baby decides to throw a tantrum. So you might say, I have to have kavanah to Hashem. I'm going to ignore everything in this world. My mind is in Shamayim. Okay, thank you. While your mind is Shamayim, everyone else is thinking about your crazy, not crazy, your child is throwing a tantrum. Right? So there's respect for others here. And you get up and leave. So this way, for everyone else's benefit. So there is that element. So now, it happened to you?
I did do it davening. It was like we were doing a Kabbalah Shabbat. Sorry, we were doing Arby. This guy was a kid, and he was in the middle of Amidah. He kept throwing these toy cars, hitting the floor, and his other son would get the youngest son, and like reloading the car, and then he'd throw it, reload, and it was like 5 minutes, and like it was really like hard to concentrate.
Right.
And that moment, I'd be like, everybody should just like
you just pick him up in it.
Everyone was like upset, like just like stop him on Amidah, and like because he kept throwing me like right on the marble, like it was a loud noise.
So I think that's another consideration. So we have some good questions for next time. So Josh's question is, what if walking will help me? Andrew and Cody's question is, what if walking will help others? I think we have some research to do to see if we can find some halachot. But ultimately, I think the key point that I want to take out from this Gemara is as follows. Before you roll into your tefillah, Hikon likrat Elohecha Yisrael. Prepare. How do you prepare? By going to the bathroom beforehand, by mentally preparing. That means if you don't just run into the room and roll into your tefillah, but it's something that you do mindfully. If you need to blow your nose, you blow your nose beforehand. If you need to go to the bathroom, you take care of that beforehand. If you feel like something I was thinking about this. Let's say you're eating some food and you get some food stuck between your teeth. Like sometimes you get like some sesame or something stuck between your teeth, and the whole time you're trying with your tongue trying to get it out. So your entire Amidah is you're playing hockey with the sesame trying to get it out. So no, before you pray, wash your mouth out. Take some floss and try to clear it out. Get a toothpick, clear it out. Anything that is going to distract you during tefillah, part of the preparation of tefillah is to take care of that beforehand. And it helps focus, get us into the right mindset, and prepare our minds. You're doing it anyway. So why not do it the right way? Why not do it with focus? Why not do it with proper intention, doing it mindfully? So hopefully this is something that let's think about, that when we go to tefillah, we go to the bathroom beforehand, even if it means we're going to be a little bit late. Now, don't use this as an excuse. You can imagine, you tell this to a kid in high school, every single morning we'll be late to tefillah, and when the rabbi says, why are you late? I'm going to give you an X. You say, I'm following Shulchan Aruch. Following the Gemara that you tell me, Rabbi. Rabbi, you tell me in the Gemara that I have to go. You want me to break halacha, Rabbi? Right? You probably will hear this type of thing in high school. High school kids are excellent at saying, what are you talking about, Rabbi? You don't know halacha. Okay, so no. So if you know you're going to have to go to the bathroom and minyan starts at 8, go to the bathroom not at 8. Go to the bathroom at 7:50. So this way you're prepared. So this is all part of the preparation process, that you come to tefillah at the right time prepared. Yirah Ratzon Be'ezron Hashem. We prepare ourselves for tefillot. Hashem should answer our tefillot in good health. Yirah Hashem. Hazak Baruch. Andy, who's Who's this? I don't know this. She
This
looks
is
like
the fifth one.
this is number 5.
Sarah.
Sarah?
Baby Sarah, yeah.
Okay, baby Sarah. Have a good night.
Almost.
Bye. See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.